Amanda has got a facility.
You might need to mute everybody, Michael.
Saying, get out to me, Jay.
Oh, sorry.
Get out. Yeah, very pleased to welcome Amanda as this evening's facilitator. I mean, I'm happy to jump in anytime she calls, but I'll try not to interrupt her. Amanda's, well, initially I met her as a student, actually, back when she was a mere student, and has remained friends ever since, and has not only done this course herself in one of its earliest forms, but has taught for us, both as a team teacher and a solo teacher. So I'm really happy to welcome her along and hope that there's more of these opportunities as time goes by and Comlinks starts to commercialise this stuff. So, and I'm feeling pretty good. I've still got the last vestiges of New Zealand still in my head, so I'm totally ground down by the working week yet. That's me. Jay, if you can hear me, go next.
I've done a bit more on mine, and it's a lot clearer now, my idea, but you know, obviously there's a lot to do, but yeah, I'm getting there. I haven't come up with a good name yet, so I'm working on that too. Emily, sorry, Steph.
Hi. I've done most of the how, not the how, the now. I'm just stuck with the name like Jay, and I'm stuck on the change affecting my business. That's it. I have no idea what to write with it, but I'm sure I'll figure it out.
Don't forget you can contact Michael and I if you need to get some support, and also your gas groups for that kind of thing. Just brainstorm. Because sometimes what affects your business, it's really hard when you're in it to think about outside stuff.
Yeah, thank you. Paul? Sorry.
Thanks, Stephanie. Look, I'm happy with where I am at the moment. I've actually completed all of the now and done the first bit of the web, and I'm really at the stage though I need to make sure I have proper consultation with the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Corporation, because they're a key agent currently working with a Comlink. And I need to, as was pointed out by Shelley, she was really helpful last week, providing a lot of background data. I've got, for instance, current data on the amount of use of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, at least of that's recorded within the Comlink database. The amount of users, I've got percentages of use, percentage of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders use as against non-Indigenous, and so on. I've got some really good baseline data. So I'm keen now to really sharpen my focus through having those conversations with the corporation, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Corporation. So, yeah, Shelley shared with me the actions to support inclusive care for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander consumers in aged care. It's just a framework that they've put out just recently. And then it reaffirmed the importance of me working alongside existing advocates and system navigators within that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander space. So I really want to put a pause until I actually have some really good conversations there to see where that goes there next. Christine.
Hi everyone. I feel like I'm coming along quite well. I think I've completed my now. I've had spent time with a gas group, a short amount of time, which was really good. It was fast but good. We had fun, and just can't do much during the week, but trying to spend a Sunday or a Saturday trying to do it. But I'm quite happy. I think I've got a name, but I feel quite happy where it's coming from. And thank you, Michael. And I am sorry I haven't replied to your email yet. Oh, hang on. Tammy and Mel. Or Tammy.
I haven't done much since our last meeting. Been a little bit too busy and also a little bit unwell. But the same idea still exists. The same concept still exists. So just ready to push through now. Mel.
I've sort of changed my concept of the idea again, but I'm definitely sticking with it. This time I'm going to focus more on the respite centre side of things, and then speak to local kindergartens in regards to implementing that intergenerational program on a daily basis at the respite centre. So, you know, for example, you know, Brightwater Kindergarten on Mondays, Mooloolaba Kindergarten on Tuesdays, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how I'll incorporate the intergenerational side of things. But yeah, sort of really focus on perhaps implementing that respite centre to the Vitality Village. That's it. Amanda.
Hi, I've had a very good fortnight, busy. But yeah, I was in my pajamas all day today, catching up on to-do lists, which is why I thought I would zhuzh for you guys tonight. Because when you work from home, it's really easy to slip into the not feeling like you're a professional. And so I just little things like that, like, you know, putting on some lipstick and some earrings. So yeah, and I'm really looking forward to tonight. Like, as Michael said, I've taught Edgeware on and off since 2012. So I kind of, whilst, you know, also being an alumni and actually being a success story of Edgeware. So when I started my course, I had an idea. I was a teacher, I was an arts therapist, I did a lot of production stuff. And then I actually started up an education production company called Bowerbird. And I know the struggle of a name, and I wanted to share with you guys a really good resource because I help a lot of startups, you know, in this space. And a really good resource is, it's actually a website called Namelix. So namelix.com. And in that, you type in the keywords of your, almost your success story or your value proposition. You type in some of those keywords, and what it does is it throws up a logo and a name. So it's really like I'm working on a startup at the moment, which is about digital memory, and we're actually designing using artificial intelligence a memory that, you know, capturing for dementia care. So it's quite a decent sized startup, but we wanted to change the name. We weren't happy with where we're at, and we've been finding it's fun with Namelix. Sometimes it gets it really wrong, but sometimes it gets it really right. So if you are struggling, put in some of those keywords, maybe around finance and aging, or beauty and aging, or just, and see what it comes up with. And it gives you a logo as well, which is quite a nice little starter. Because don't, like, and we're going to talk a lot about this tonight actually in this lesson. This is a lovely segue. It's very easy in those early days to get really caught up on your website, your logo, all of those kind of the nice shiny bits. But, you know, often that stuff just comes from actually doing the work, doing the tools, getting your value proposition, realizing who your client actually is, and then you kind of work towards that. And I know for my own journey, I got out Japanese paintbrushes and did my own logo when Bowerbird started. It had this beautiful bird flowing, and I actually swapped some gentleman some English lessons for his daughter to do my logo up because I had no capital. And then, you know, it was very obvious about 3 years into my business when I rebranded that my client was corporate, my client was government, and, you know, my branding wasn't matching. So I moved towards a more corporate looking logo. So it's still Bowerbird, but it's got the feather, and it's just a lot more pared back. And my whole website got pared back and things like that. Please don't Google my website at the moment. It's not live. I'm do as I say, not as I do. I'm not a good entrepreneur in that way, but again, so busy in my business that I just don't need, I actually, again, and we're going to talk about this, I don't need a website to get my clients. Has everybody checked in? Have we, it looks like we've had everybody. Excellent. Now, Michael, I realized when we went through everything and we, you know, I was all prepared and I've got everything lined up. In another life, I was a teacher. I was a professional teacher for 20 years. I realized that, Michael, you're the leader on this. So for me to share my screen and do the slides, are you happy for me to just do it as a participant sharing my screen?
Sorry. Yeah, you can share from your end.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yes, of
awesome.
course.
All right. Host disabled attendee screen sharing. You've disabled attendee screen sharing, Michael.
Ah, so I wonder what I can do about that. Oh, yes, multiple can share simultaneously. How about that?
Yeah. That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Can.
Excellent. I even tidied my desktop for everybody. How I can minimize you guys. Okay. So, oh, why is this not working? There we go. What we've gone through until now is we've finished the Now tools, and you guys, a lot of you have been saying that you've been really successful on that. And then we've actually moved to the, you know, you should be working on your value proposition and be honing that. And, you know, again, it's okay at this stage to be changing that. And last week we started a little bit on the where tools, and we're going to build on that tonight. We're actually going to get through most of the where tools, and maybe you can start on some of the how tools tonight. To begin with, Michael and I were talking about sharing the story of Loverberry. So Loverberry, Michael, I'll let you talk a little bit more, fill in the gaps, but from what I can understand, Mandy was a participant in 2017 in an Edgeware program, and started out, like so many of us, started out with one idea and actually moved through and changed to another idea. So she, and through that, she actually changed her value proposition multiple times. So we've actually got a video. Michael, are you happy for me to share the video?
Yes, of course. Just go for it, Amanda.
Okay, good. I can be quite dominating, so I'm happy to just step through, but jump in and add to the story if you need to, Michael.
Okay.
This program's helped me.
Not seeing that screen though, Amanda. Just still
Sorry?
seeing the PowerPoint screen.
Is that working?
I think you might have to shift screens if you're showing us a video
working,
of the
Michael?
web. Hello. I'm seeing the PowerPoint screen, your PowerPoint screen, not your video screen.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, was the video working?
I don't know, because we can only see your PowerPoint screen, not the video screen.
Ah, okay. All right. So you're not seeing what I'm seeing. I love technology when you're all prepped up and you're like, this will work. Okay.
Wait.
Are you seeing the video now?
No.
Are you seeing yourselves?
Down the side, yeah, but the screen is mainly taken up with the PowerPoint screen.
Ah, okay.
If you click share down the bottom, it should give you some options.
Okay. Share down the bottom of our...
Your window of the Zoom window.
Okay.
If you roll over the bottom line, there's a menu at the bottom: invite, manage participants, share, chat, and record.
Okay.
And if you left click on share, you should see a window with some options to actually, for the screen you actually want to share.
Bear with us, guys. Share. I can see Jay. More. So I've lost my, up the top, Michael, it's not actually doing it. Maybe we give you guys the link to it.
Yeah, I mean, the point is that at this stage is really just that Mandy changed her value proposition 3 times during the delivery. So it's really a message for anybody that feels stymied or second best or challenged by the fact that they haven't got their value proposition down yet. We just heard from Mel that, you know, she's changed her mind again, and that's absolutely to be encouraged. Don't feel bad about that. It's really important that you're working on something that means something to you. So Mandy by now is actually, Loverberry is a whole sort of complex of supply of damaged and not market ready fruit, which just means Coles sees a blemish on it and won't accept it, that is being recycled through markets and the freeze drying service that she has, and she's doing really well. So if you go to that URL and look for the alumni button, there's actually a video, the video Amanda's talking about, where Amanda talks about it and where Mandy talks about it. And she's really sort of eloquent, so I'd recommend that.
And I think, you know, like Michael was just saying, at this stage in any business, you know, or idea, you're going to keep adding to it. You're going to keep changing it, and there's no problem with that, because as we keep saying with the tools, and I think this is the key one, is you can keep coming back and forth. And even the way we're going to present tonight, you'll actually see the numbering of the tools that we do tonight. We're jumping around a little bit because Michael wants us to take a different journey. And so that's actually one of the good things about this course, is actually that you don't have to follow a linear step, and that you can't move forward without, you know, that you can, it's cyclical. And that's the nature of business anyway, or business ideas. Okay. So, so moving on. So we've done the where. So we've actually started to kind of look at last fortnight, when we did the kind of meditation and we were looking at where we want to be. We want to build on that now. And tonight, we'd really like you to come out of tonight's session with some really solid, what we call TATs, tickable, achievable, small actions. So we're starting to move into an action place where it's not just thinking about ideas or playing around, but actually moving into a place where you can actually start to work on your business. So last time we kind of left you with this idea of the perfect picture and thinking about what that perfect picture was. And we got you to drill down a little bit into financially what was, you know, perfect in 3 to 5 years, personally what was perfect, and socially and environmentally was what was perfect. So did anyone have any thoughts about this over the fortnight, or add to it, or, you know, get into that process? I mean, it was, you know, towards the end of the session last time. So does anyone want to share where they're at with this? Did anyone have any insight? Jay, you want to turn your sound on?
I've started mine, but I haven't finished it. I've just got some notes there at this point.
No, that's all good. That's all good. And that's, you know, this is, again, coming back to, this is the kind of pie in the sky, but it starts to set up what we need for some of these actions. So you can come back to this. You don't have to have this all fleshed out. But it's, you know, again, it always coming back to that, what is my customer's success? What is my success and what is my customer's success, and how do those two communicate and dialogue with each other? All right. So again, if we have a look at, Michael has filled this out for Comlink Intrapreneurs program. Again, you know, revisiting financial. So he's got some really clear financial, and again, it's it's pie in the sky, but it's achievable. So he's actually got established a premium professional development offering, delivering nationally 12 times per year at a gross margin of 12 times 15,000, equaling 180,000. So, you know, you can see that he's actually put numbers and figures and timelines into this. So that's what we really, I suppose the purpose of this tool is start to actually really drill down where there's some concrete things that you can start to measure. When I did my Edgeware course back in 2012, I identified that for me, and I think I shared this with you guys, that I wanted to be able to earn enough money, and I set myself a target of what that money would be. And I worked out that was working pretty much at around the $120 an hour mark. That's what I wanted to get paid for the kind of services I provided after my costs, that I personally need that much to sustain my family and lifestyle and, you know, achieve what I wanted to. And I wanted to get paid that money. One of the big things for me around this, my business, is that I wanted it to be sustainable, and I wanted to actually have a business that allowed me freedom. Freedom is a really big personal kind of thing for me. So I actually wanted to work 3 to 4 days a week when I wanted to. That was one of my things as well, at around the $120 mark. Now, I could be a lot richer. I could work a lot harder. I could achieve a lot more. My business could be a lot more successful if I worked more hours or pushed up my pricing. But for me, that felt really comfortable. And now, Bowerbird's been going, well, I registered it in 2011. So it's been going, you know, 8 years now. I actually can tick all of those things. So I've actually achieved it. It took time. It took a long time to build my business, but I now have the profit margins I wanted, and I work the hours I want. However, now I have to reevaluate. What do I want to do with my business? You know, so we're constantly looking through those things. But just, you know, again, this is for you. This is your success measure. So as Michael shared last time, we've got his role. So personally, he wants his role as program designer is widely acknowledged and valued by his peers, and he receives consistent feedback and the occasional free drink from trainees and participants, and that he feels proud that he had a positive influence and experienced a sense of lightness. And then socially and emotionally, the program has been studied and evidence shown that it has a positive and measurable effect on the growth of entrepreneurial culture in organizations. So they're actual things that he could look back on in a couple of years and actually see whether he's achieved them. All right, so if we drill down even further then into these things, we actually can start to make these very real. So if we actually look at, and this is the next kind of tool, it's the actions that go with that pie in the sky thinking. So with this one, we're actually looking at your personal values. So for me, my personal values is time with my family. I had some health issues that for me really made it very important for me that I have time to keep my body, mind, and being healthy. So for me, that's why my personal values are around spending time with family and having quality of professional life. So my key, and then you'd actually write your key performance indicators in there for me, is that I'm not working a 68-hour week, keeping my business afloat. That, you know, that's my, you know, so I made it in the positive for me that I was doing about a 30-hour week, 35-hour week. So, you know, I put those kinds of things on. Relationships, that's about, you know, maybe connecting with people, those kinds of things, and maybe another thing in there. So if we have a look at when Michael's filled this out, you'll see that he's actually got time away from the business is one of his personal ones. So the key goals, kind of bigger indicators again, is benefit to society. And again, this needs to be an action that's quite measurable. So it could be something like, and you know, already there's benefit to society by making Comlink a better system, a better offering for people. Already you have a lot of those, but what exactly do you want to see? How is it going to benefit people? You know, if you are offering a end of life bucket list, you know, what kind of benefit does that give to society, the broader society, and then also benefit to the environment. So Michael talks about the last intrapreneur group that you had. They're growing a garden. So again, they're limiting food waste, they're limiting carbon miles on the food, those kinds of things. So if you have a bit of a think, I'll show you Michael's here, just so you can have an example. Just close this down. So personal values: circulate information about my latest work on social media using LinkedIn for generating leads for further work. So, you know, he's talking about his stuff. Personal
this is still the commercializing Comlink Intrapreneurs, right?
Yes.
And this is real. This is not, I mean, I'm making it up as I go along, but it's something that is actually going to happen.
And the good thing about all of us is we can keep Michael accountable to this. You know, he's got his own gas group. With each group that comes through, we can check that we're actually seeing these things happen. Relationships. So create a schedule for regular follow through with edgy intrapreneurs and build positive and supportive relationships. So, you know, these yourselves, you know, Michael will be coming and working with you and saying, how did this work? What was good? What needed improvement? And you'll see that. You'll see him actually doing that. And then take regular breaks. So that's obviously something that Michael, you know, he obviously needs trips to New Zealand and things like that to keep going in business. Benefit to society. One of the things that Michael has identified he'd like to do is identify a relevant charity or a not-for-profit, which he can give a certain percentage of the kind of money generated from this program when it gets sold to the broader market, that he would like to donate maybe 10% or something to a charity or a not-for-profit organisation. So giving back. And all the evidence and research shows when we give back, not only is that very good for your business, in fact, businesses need to be doing that a lot more. And in fact, often in terms of value proposition, our customers and clients actually will choose businesses that give back over those that don't, because it is part of our culture. We're recognising that there needs to be new ways of doing things. So that's something that you can also not to trade in on, but it is something that you can trade in on. And then finally, the benefit to the environment. Maybe we can think of something to help, you know, something there that's around climate change or networks. So maybe, you know, he could do some work pro bono for a climate change network or something like that. Notes. Okay, so Michael's put down there, is there a healthy wellbeing and environmental organisation and charity? So, you know, is there something that can, you know, get the two birds with one stone? And these are the kinds of things when you're doing these tools, again, there's no right or wrong. It's about what's going to make work for your idea. So, you know, how does that fit in? Where can you fill in these things that will actually help your business achieve what it needs to, both personally and for your client? Any comments or thoughts on that?
One from me. This tool is called Actions. It follows through from that vision thing, but it's really about encouraging me to start thinking about stuff I can do. So in each one of those boxes, I could actually create actions that further down the track, when I get to how, I'll consider as part of my business. So it's starting to get down to there. It's not just a picture, a pretty picture of ultimate success. It's the steps, starting to think about the steps I can take to make those things real.
Questions, comments, thoughts? Okay. All right. Any concerns? Like looking at those, like I think it was Steph, you were saying that you were having a little bit of trouble looking at the influences on your business at this current time. How do you feel about a tool like this, which is drilling down a little bit?
I feel like this one's more self-explanatory than the last one.
Yeah. Good. Okay. All right. Next. Okay, this is the one where I always, I find financials quite difficult, but the reality is if you're coming up with ideas, particularly as entrepreneurs, I mean, you need to be able to show the people who are going to be buying into your idea that it is financially viable. That's, you know, at the end of the day, business is about finances, and although we want to give back and do all of that, it's got to pay for itself in some way. So this one is actually helping you, this tool helps you think about how much money do I need to make this financially viable? Or in your case, in the entrepreneurial space, how much, where can I make savings? What pricing do I put on what I'm offering? Where could that money income or revenue come from? So this one's really important because, again, if you're taking something to your leadership team, as often, and I've certainly had a lot of experience of this when working with startups, it's the first page people often turn to. You know, it's the important nitty gritty. So you need to think about your annual earnings after tax. So don't forget the tax stuff in there. And, you know, sometimes you might need to do a little bit of research as well as a not-for-profit as Comlink, you know, where there might be different tax rules that apply and things like that. Think about, you know, annual markup on sales, cost of products and production. So you kind of you can work your way down here. Employees. Now, again, if you're entrepreneur, you have an employee base you might be able to tap into, which is fantastic, but you still have to account for that stuff. You know, if I'm pulling someone off here to put them there, how do we manage that within the financials? Or can I put 0.8 of someone's position onto this at the gardens, or, you know, offering these kinds of things? Again, how will you measure these things? It's really good to do year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. You would want to be seeing some growth across those years. So yeah, have a bit of a play. We can come back to this again if your idea is still very early on. Don't stress too much about this, but start to think about the financials. What is it going to cost to bring? Is there any hidden costs about bringing the kindergartens over to the respite centre? Even if it's things like, you know, feeding people or, you know, amenities. Is there changes that need to be made to the respite centre if you've got children involved there? Even things like putting people through their blue cards. You know, people who might have I don't know if the yellow cards are still used, but maybe they might have to upgrade some staff to blue cards, you know, those kinds of things that might cost the organisation.
Can I add something, Amanda?
Of course you can, Michael.
Don't freak out about this. Like Amanda, I too am really challenged with money matters. It takes a certain kind of head. I'm glad Jay's not here to hear this, because she's the opposite. I rely on her at Comlink for all sorts of things by now, because I've admitted how clumsy I am, and she's just across it. We're actually going to do a chunk of stuff on your financial plan next webinar. So if this is freaking you out a bit, just leave it and come back to it after we've done that. I was really scared about that the last time we did it, because usually I bring somebody else in to do the financials, because I have so little confidence. But I found a way to do it relatively simply so that even I could understand it, and the feedback was pretty good. The point about this is that it's just those KPIs. These are the key indicators. So if you are successful, when you are successful, how will you know? And the previous tool or size of the tool was about how will I know personally, how will I know socially. This tool is about how will I know financially. So some of these lines, like profit, for example, or markup, might not be relevant because you're not actually selling a thing. You're not selling donuts that cost you so much to produce and then you can sell for so much. If it's not relevant, just ignore it. That's the point of the 2 other boxes, because this tool might or might not capture stuff that is actually important. Thanks, Amanda.
No worries. And you know, we talk often, one of the things that came out of when I was doing all of this tooling for Bowerbird was that I am so bad with numbers. I actually have dyslexia, and one of the things that is deeply affected is numbers. So you do not want me doing financials. I didn't want to do the financials. One of my KPIs for my business was when I could get to a point where I could actually employ people to support me with that. So I actually have an accountant who I really trust. I've got a bookkeeper, and I invested, one of the big investments of my business is I actually got a business manager. So I almost bought myself a boss, because she's really good at Gantt charts. She's really good at mapping things. She's very good at doing all the budgets. She's very good at quoting. So when we get projects in, she manages all of that stuff. And then I can just get on with the creative thinking and the people work and the networking and all of that stuff. And that was one of my things, is I need the people in my team that can fill in the gaps where I have deficits. And Michael's done the same. You know, he's got people on his team, whole lot of gorgeous, you know, women who've got a great experience, who kind of can fill in that. And Susanna, who does us Edgeway's Financials, is fantastic. So, yeah, don't be afraid to also acknowledge where you have weakness and identify that as part of your goals of what you need in your business. Going to identify that's a success. When I have made success, like I am successful when I have this. And for me, a big expense in my business is well worth having a business manager who thinks differently to me and pulls me up when I'm getting out of control with ideas or things like that. So here we go. Here's the one for the Intrapreneur business going commercial. So you can see, you know, they're not ridiculous numbers. You know, we did the pie in the sky when we did that kind of meditation, but these are very real numbers. So, you know, annual earnings after tax might be 60,000 for the first year. And then Michael's hoping, or, you know, will know he's successful if he can double that in the second year, which means, you know, that flows on to then how many people he signs up for the program and all of that. And then finally, he's, you know, adding an extra 60,000 in the third year. Average markup, 35%, 40%, 45%. So again, you can see the incremental. Jay, I'm not sure if this looks very realistic, but, you know, you can see that, you know, adding a 5% margin each year, you know, maybe that's really, you know, spot on. But for Michael, when he hits those targets, he knows he's being successful. And if he's not hitting those targets, then he knows he can go back to the tooling and reevaluate. Cost of products. So in the first year, cost of producing will be 20,000. Cost of producing in the second year will be 40,000 and 60,000. So again, it's leaping up by 20,000. Michael, is that assuming because the costs are going up in producing because you're doubling the amount of stuff you have to produce, or?
Yeah, there's further deliveries, but I'm imagining. I actually think those numbers are way too big. If I had to do it again, I'd probably go something like 20,000, 30,000, and then back to 20,000, because once it's digital, it's I'm sort of assuming some knobs and whistles, like video productions, some short videos early on. So say by year 2. So looking at it now, I go something like 10,000, whatever I just said, 30,000, and back to 20,000.
Yeah.
Anticipating that growth, that rapid growth in the second year, and the need for more creative, more collateral.
Yeah, yeah. I was wondering about that, because I mean, often the startup costs in something particular, like producing an education program, the startup costs are high because you're getting it all sorted, you're getting the graphic art on the on the fillables, you're doing all of that stuff, and then you can just keep using the same thing as you go through. Cost of marketing and delivery, none in the first year. And then 10,000 in the second year and 20,000 in the third year. Employees, none in the first 2 years. And then Michael will know he's successful when his business has grown to the point where he can put on an employee. So you can see how there's a relationship between that. What is success and what am I projecting to? And then partnerships and joint investments. So None in the first year while Michael's setting up the program. He's honing it, he's getting it correctly, he's building his networks. But in the second and third year, he'll have 5, and in the third year, he'll have 10. So year 1 earnings are generated in-house from tenants and stakeholders in the virtual village. Any questions? I haven't lost you. Financials often lose people. Sorry, Jay. Okay.
Oops, I was just going to say, so do you need evidence to back that up? Evidence, research, or you're just sort of plucking numbers?
Yeah, you are. Sorry, Amanda, go on.
Oh no, I was just going to say, I think it depends who's going to see this. So, I mean, already Michael's reevaluating based on what he did, from the first program. I think if you are actually taking your business plan, as you will be, to a market, through your Intrapreneur program, it probably would be good to have very realistic numbers there, just so you can pitch them. But if it's for you to just sit there and get your head around what would I like, I think then it could be a bit fluid. What do you think about that, Michael?
Yeah, these are, as Amanda just pointed out, I'm sort of revising my thinking about this even as we go, because I do want to turn this into something real. It's really the principal audience for this is you, not an investor, not a banker, not a funding body. In this case, you means the rest of us in Commonwealth, because you're intrapreneurs, not entrepreneurs. And they're designed in this way, in this modular way, so that we can go back and revise them in the way I just talked about. So it depends on what your idea is, Jay. If it's really new and out there, you've got no choice but to grab numbers out of the air. If there is some research, if you're like Paul, will have numbers on Indigenous people using our services, there's at least something to start with in the estimate. But so there's no yes, no answer to that. It depends on where you're at. I think what I observed in the first delivery and the way that the C-suite and the board member involved looked at these, the real value is to show that you've thought through the process to get to your numbers, because they too understand that it's innovation, right? By definition, it's new. So it's not like buying a Harry's plumbing business franchise or something where there's already a model.
Yeah, cool.
Can I just say something? I don't know if everyone is feeling the same way as me, and I know you said not to panic too much because of next week, but I've just got this massive anxiety now about the financial side of things, because for me, with the wish list, I was kind of thinking it more as a charity. So now I'm not sure how this is going to apply for me. So I guess I just need reassurance that next week next session will make sense.
I think, Michael, I'm sure you can talk to this, but I'd say that one of the main things with the charity stuff is just to know roughly what it's going to cost, but then also know then that's where you get that's what you have to fundraise, or that's where, that kind of thing, and that it doesn't have to make money, or that, again, like Michael said, the other will be very important to you. So it might be that you get some sponsorship, or you get, just so you've got your head around roughly what it might cost to do these things, but not to your clients.
Yeah.
The main thing to understand, Tammy, is money in, money out. That's all. Even if we are giving things away, they have to be paid for somehow, and this encourages us to think not only how much fuel we burn or how much sugar we use in the cake or whatever, but how much staff time, how much effort in marketing Adam and his team have to do. These are all costs to the business. So in your particular case, I think it'll be income, grants and philanthropy. It won't be earned income, and expenditure of whatever it costs. We can service this number of people to this amount per head in year 1, and this number of people at this amount per head in year 2, just so that you can show that the admin, in our case, the management, that you understand that it's a cost to the business to do this. And the fact that it's a charity already, the Comlinks registered as a charity, and therefore donations are deductible, is part of your pitch, part of your value proposition to people to invest.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
don't freak out about it.
No. No, honestly. Okay, so let's get something, let's get away from the financials for a bit, have a bit of a break from that. So getting back to the signs of success, so going back to, you know, now that you've thought about financial, personal, and social, go back and look at your signs of success and kind of, again, summarize them again. So everything we do with the tools, we're constantly trying to drill down. We're constantly trying to get clearer. But remember, clarity, action precedes clarity. So it's this kind of dance between getting, you don't have to know it all, but I'm going to think about this right now, and then I'll try and put some actions to it. So with this one, what we ask you to do is think about those signs of success, and then we get you to think about where you are right now in comparison to where you want to be in a way. So right now, I mean, for all of you, I don't think anyone would be at a zero because you have Comlink behind you. So as entrepreneurs, you're already on that scale. You already have some way of being successful. So if you can give yourself a score between 0 and 10 about how where are you in relation to your vision for your success. And once you've given yourself that score, think about why you gave yourself that score. So if you gave yourself a 2, why wasn't it a 1? There must be some reason why you're not at a 1 or you're not at a 0. If you gave yourself a 7, think about what is it that makes you a 7 and not a 6. So think about, when you think about those things, you have in your, even with where you're at today, with, you know, the ideas that you have, all of you have strengths and resources. This is kind of like the old SWOT analysis in some ways. So what is in your kit? So already you have a network, you have a vehicle, literally in Comlink, you have your deep knowledge of the sector and of your clients. You might have, you know, your actual skills. For example, if you're talking about the beauty, you might have the beauty skills. If you're talking about the finances, Jay, you might have those financial skills, so you can see that vision. If you're in a leadership role at Comlink, you've already know how to manage a project, like some of you may have already done that. Thinking about what's already there, your strengths and resources that you already own, that make you the number that you are and not the one before. So if we just take a moment now, just thinking about those signs of success, where would you place yourself? Don't let the anxiety of the financial color this. Where would you say, in terms of your idea of success, where would you place yourselves now? If everyone can take a moment to think about 0 to 10, where would you place yourselves?
The idea is that perfect world that you imagined last time in the where everything has worked out perfectly is a 10, and a 0 is the reverse of that. So where are you in terms of achieving that 10?
Do you want answers now?
Yeah.
All right.
Just so you do something, just so we can check you're not drifting off.
I reckon I'm about 2, 3.
Okay, 2, 3. And what resources do you have, Joe, that placed you a 2, 3 and not a 0 or a 1?
Well, like you said, we've already got a network. So we've already got the clients, staff, and the volunteers, and we've also got everybody in our workplace has. My idea's got to do with skill share. So everybody in the workplace already has skills that they could share. And we've already got resources. So all our computers at night, they're all empty. you know, we've got a venue, we've already got volunteers as well. So, and then, yeah, so we've got a lot of the stuff already, and we don't even have to wait for the Vitality Village. So it's something that we can start doing now.
Yeah, perfect. So that's what makes you, it sounds almost like a 3 to me, but you know, that makes you a 2 and 3, not a 0 or 1. Cool.
Yeah.
Someone else share.
I said for me 4, 5, which it wasn't until you started saying things that I realised I'm probably further along than what I realised. But obviously Comlink and Comlink's reputation helps me to be a 4 or 5. Having access to 32,000 clients is a huge help. Volunteers, staff, vehicles. We're registered as a charity already. I'm a manager, so I know how to do projects and lead a team. Knowledge of clients. I work in an industry of heartfelt people. They're my peeps, you know, so I connect with them naturally, and I know how to find them. I've been in this industry for over 20 years, so I've got access outside of Comlink to some really cool resources.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing.
Can I add to that too?
Yes.
This is advice for everybody. When it comes to this box, strengths and resources, it's really useful to keep asking yourself the question, what else, what else, what else, what else? Because in Anglo-Australia, we have this culture of tall poppies, of we're not used to talking ourselves up and thinking ourselves up. Americans are relatively untroubled by this, but as sort of Anglophile Australians, we like to, oh, geez, I'm just a bit, you know, I'm a bit good at this and I'm a bit good at that. Like Don Bradman, you know, I can sort of bat. Don't do that. Imagine that you're a braggart and you're listing everything that you're good at. I'm saying that because in my experience is that that list typically gets longer and longer the longer you ask yourself that question. That is, you don't give yourself credit typically for the things that you're good at. So when you get to that box, just keep asking, what else am I good at? What else am I good at? So listen to Tammy, she's good at compassion. Heart as big as a house. We had an example of that in the last webinar, but she's, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, trained as a nurse. So she's good at putting compassion on wheels in the ward, you know, translating a heart into a hand. That's a skill.
Anyone else want to share? You don't have to. Anyone feel like bragging? Talking themselves up? Okay, no worries. All right, so moving on to the next thing is looking at that strengths and resources list, starting to come up with some real solid, what we call TACs, so tiny, achievable, tickable tasks. So again, we're breaking things down. We're using the big to come down to the small, and we're looking for action. So again, we're not just so many times when you're doing business stuff, it's like, oh yeah, just do this and think about that. We want you to walk away from these tools with a whole list of things that you can do tomorrow or Saturday when you get some time. So just taking for an example, Tammy and Jay both mentioned the networks that you have of volunteers, for example. So it might be putting an email out to the volunteers asking would anyone be interested in some skill sharing and starting a database, or anyone interested in helping out with taking some people to their experiences for their bucket list and starting a database. That might be something that you can do very easily, creating a database of people that I can use for my project. Maybe it's finding out, I'm thinking if you've got a transport thing or something like that, maybe it's finding out what days or looking at the schedule for hiring out the cars. You know, when are they used now? When could I use them? So very, very small, achievable, tickable tasks. Maybe it's asking, you know, would there be any cost to hire the space after hours? You know, just even, again, that feeds back into those financials, starting to give yourself some of that data that you might need. So from those strengths and resources and all of the kind of goal setting stuff that we've been doing, start to give yourself those small little things that you can do that you can tick off. And I wanted to share with you a tool that I've found really, really useful as a kind of business person for tats. So it's a little plugin that you use on your computer. It's free and it's called Todoist. So Todoist, Todoist. And it just sits on the bottom of your screen and you just put in all those tats, all those little things. Make a phone call to so-and-so and let them know what I'm thinking about. Or check the timetables for something. And you can just put in all your little tats, and you can do it by the day, you can do it by the month, you can program things. And then when you do them, you just tick them off. And it gives you a little like, yay, you did 5 things today or whatever. But I find those programs are really, really useful. I also have, like right here on my desk, I do this all the time. I don't know if you can, are you only seeing my screen? I'll see if I can. Can you see anything other than the tool? Can you see yourselves down the side? But I've actually got a paper version of Todoist where it's got Monday and all the little dot points that you have on there. So just to be able to track those things is really, really helpful. And kind of keep updating those lists, because it's really, for me, I've found it invaluable as a kind of visual thinker. Being able to look at my week and I think, God, I haven't achieved anything this week. I've got so many to-do lists. I can turn on my Todoist and see that I've actually done 55 things in a day. One phone call, one this, one that. So some of those little tools can really help follow your tats. All right, if we have a quick look at Michael's.
Can I just add to that, Amanda? Another way of, well, a way of looking at this is, let's say Jay awards herself a 4. She's a 4 on the way to a perfect 10. Think of strengths and weaknesses as those things that got you from a 3 to a 4. And then think of the tat as the things that are going to get you from a 4 to a 5. Not all the way to a 10, just to a 5, just to the next little step.
Mm-hmm.
It feels a lot, it helps with that overwhelm, because I think our culture is incredibly overwhelming in itself. They're just, I think we're all feeling that there's always something more to do. And I think those little tickable things just, yeah, like Michael was saying, it just helps you feel successful, like you are achieving. So if we look at Michael's here for the Intrapreneur program, we've got signs of success. So Comlink Intrapreneurs Edgies, financial security and growth, valuing of my role and contribution, feedback and evidence that the product, the training program, has produced social impact and benefit. I feel good about all the work I've put in and the acknowledgement is received. So that comes from, you can see the direct correlation between his signs of success. He's kind of summarized, Michael summarized what he wrote earlier on those other tooling. Michael's given himself a 5 as to where he is right now. Michael, do you want to share why you gave yourself a 5?
A 5 seemed a sort of reasonable guesstimate. Like, I didn't want to underestimate. I'm not at a 0 or a 1 or a 2 because it's already a product that's being delivered elsewhere. At the same time, it's untested in the marketplace, I imagine, for it, which is other companies like Comlink that want to become more entrepreneurial. So I was really hedging my bets by going 50-50.
Okay, so Michael's strengths, he has a good baseline corporate culture. He has strong leadership. He has a good reputation and status in professional and general community. He has good professional training and background, tried and proven product, and medium-term financial support. So he has in-house support, some grants, and some philanthropy. And then, so out of that, and you can see again that Michael can get on with these quite like quite solidly, it's concrete. He can create an offer package, marketing material by December 2019. And you can see Michael has given himself a date and a time there to achieve these things. That can be really helpful to keep you accountable. Otherwise, these lists just get lost, and they, like I was saying with that program Todoist, you can actually schedule it. And we would like to see you do that. Give yourself some time frames around these things. Because that also allows you to reflect on whether you're successful or not. Are you tracking to what you want to achieve? Analysis and evaluation. So analyze and evaluate competitive marketplace by November 2016. 2019. Sorry, I told you I'm really bad with numbers. So Michael will be working on that right now, because we're in October. He'll be actually starting to do that analysis and evaluation. And then secure 2 times pilot project clients for the program by November 2019. So that, again, Michael will be working on that today. And then create regular edgies, gas groups at Comlink and Vital Village immediately and ongoing.
That strengths and resources box too. Some of that was about me personally, but most of that's about the company. And that's something that everybody here needs to negotiate. Like when you talk about strengths and resources, there are some that just come with the job. There are some that are built in to the company we're working for. At the same time, each of us as individuals have things to offer. So those strengths and resources are both yours and Comlink's.
Michael, how are you going? We'll just make you a little bit accountable, but how do you feel you're going to use a lot of those hats for November?
Yeah, I think I'm on track, except for the third one, the pilot project clients. It's not that I don't think I could go out and flog them. Like there's a conversation going on with the hospital right now, Sunshine Coast University Hospital. It's just that I'm not sure I've got the energy to deliver. So I think, you know, I might stand up and pitch along with the rest of you to the management at the end of this. Let's say I do. By the time I get to that point, I think I might draw a line through that one.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Any questions? Comments, thoughts? You guys feel comfortable to go on and do these tools during the next fortnight? I find this stuff really fun. Like, call me crazy, but I love that kind of, oh, I want to get there. What are the little things I can do to help me? Who can I phone? Who can I connect with? What's one thing that I can research? You know, for the tech startup I'm doing work with at the moment, I'm reading heaps about reminiscence therapy and synapses and how memory works with image, and you know, so that, you know, research is part of what I'm doing at the moment. It's part of my kind of goals, and it's fun. It's actually really nice going through and feeling like you're doing something. You're not just thinking up these ideas and not taking them forward. So yeah, have some fun with it as well. The kind of second half of this evening, and we're tracking really well for time, is marketing. So a lot of people marketing can be a bit of a dirty word. I think we've all been, you know, exposed to some marketing that hasn't been that helpful or hasn't been that ethical and those kinds of things. But marketing is really essential to successful programs like you're going to run, because if you don't tell people about who you are and what you do, it's that tall poppy thing. If you don't tell people how amazing you are, they'll never know. So this really links back to that value proposition. So as we're talking through the marketing stuff, think about your value proposition. How will your client know they are successful? And how do you communicate that to them? Sometimes marketing gets, oh, sorry, Michael.
Sorry, it's hard to, can you see me when I do this, if I do this?
Yes, I can see you. Can you see you guys all down the side of my screen?
It's possible to fiddle around with the view options up at the top, folks, to get
I can see Chris.
sorts of lines, because I just discovered that I can see, arrange my screen so that I can see everybody's window. Before that, I was only seeing 3 people. So if you look at sort of view options up the top, just to reinforce the point Amanda made before, we are jumping around the tools. So the tools are arranged like 1 to 20 or whatever they are. We're actually going to lead into tools number 15 and 16 here, which is a bit of an experiment, but why I designed it that way was that we've just been talking about products, customers, and value. And I think you can argue that marketing is not about ripping people off, it's about messaging. It's about how you get the message about the value of your thing to its customer most clearly, most effectively, most efficiently. That's all marketing is. It's kind of communication. Thanks, Amanda.
No worries, Michael. Yeah, sometimes people think like they get confused between marketing and sales as well, and the image on the screen kind of, sales kind of links into marketing, but marketing is a platform that sales bounce off. So they're intricately linked, but they are 2 different things. A really good resource if you're interested in this or feel like you've got, you need to kind of brush up a little bit on marketing. One of the gurus in the marketing kind of arena is Seth Godin. Has anyone heard of Seth? Worth a look if you're interested in this kind of thing, how to get your message across succinctly and successfully and targeted. And his book or his kind of program, The Bootstrapper's Bible. So bootstrapping, I had a realization when I was going through these slides with Michael, you know, the slide on boots, the pulling your boots up and just getting on with it type thing. So yeah, so there's a whole lot of resources around that if you want to kind of follow through. One of the big things around Seth Godin's kind of stuff is the purple cow, and the story that goes with the purple cow is that you're driving along the road in the country, you see cows, you see black and white cows, you see brown cows, and suddenly you see a purple cow. Now you know it's a cow, it's recognizable as a cow, it's with the other cows, but it's purple. And as you drive into the next town, the first thing you say is, wow, that's a purple cow. Or you might even ring someone and say, I saw a purple cow today. So it's a kind of metaphor for how do you and your idea, and particularly, you know, at Comlink, I'm sure people are pitching ideas to management all the time. How does your idea get selected? Why you? What is it about your idea that gets picked up? And then in terms of your customer, you know, why come in to Comlink and actually get your share skills or your transport or your offering, your bucket list or your hair products? Why would I come to Comlink? Why don't I go to Blue Care or Anglicare or one of the other providers? So you need to have your purple cow. You need to work out, in other business talk, it might be your point of differentiation. You know, your kind of, what is it about that kind of, what makes your business different? So worth kind of having a bit of a think about that. And that's what marketing does. It says, hey, I have this amazing thing. It's got to be recognizable, but it's different. It has, you know, value for you, and I am your purple cow. So sometimes we'll refer to that as a bit of a metaphor throughout our stuff. Michael.
Godin has a really nice story about a manufacturer of soy milk who convinced a supermarket chain to put the soy milk in with the regular milk in the chiller section, in the cold section. Now, soy milk doesn't need to be stored that way, but what he was after was the purple cow. He was after supermarket shoppers who went milk, 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 not milk, and came back and looked at the label twice. So sometimes you just offer exactly the same thing as you'd normally offer, but you do it in a different color, you do it in a different marketplace, you use different language. That's enough to lift it out. And when you're a purple cow, you are remarkable. So you're worthy of remark. People, and that's really Godin's strength and why he's part of this course, because that's cheap. That just involves ideas and word of mouth. usually. So how do you define yourself? Remember the 4 questions right at the start. Question 1, what is it? Question 2, who's it for? Question 3, what's the value? Who it's for, sees in what it is. And question 3. Question 4, how is it different? This is a way of answering the 4th question, how is it different? Thanks, Amanda.
No worries. So one of the key ways that Godin says this is tell a story. So often, and if you think about your own purchasing or your own way of choosing what you choose, often good marketers, they tell a story. We buy into their story. So whether it's who produced it or where it's made or what it looks like or how the idea came about. I mean, already as someone who hadn't heard of Comlink, I already have a sense of Comlink as being different. As someone, I do quite a bit of work in the aged care sector. I'm a consumer in the aged care sector. Already, the fact that they've employed someone like Michael makes Comlink different. The fact that they're putting their staff through this kind of program makes Comlink different. And already I'm thinking, wow, I want to look more into Comlink. So that's the story, the story I got from my friend Michael about this amazing kind of place up in the Sunshine Coast, that kind of thing. Already there's a story behind it, and I'm starting to buy into that, and then I want to know more. I think if you think about your own things that you're attached to, and we're going to talk about that a bit later, about love marks. Was there a story that got you into it? And most successful marketing campaigns have a story behind them, or tell a story, or give you something that you want to buy into or share in a way. So think about the story that attaches to each of your ideas. And some of them are, already you're telling those stories. When Tammy shared that she's already offered an experience to someone who is, terminally ill, we all bought into it and we all felt it. We all felt it. So already you're starting to have those ways of connecting with people. And I think, you're all in the people industry. It'll be about connecting with people. So marketing, 1, communicates a consistent message to the ideal customer, which is your value proposition stuff. 2, discovers what customers want and need, as well as what price they will pay. 3, knows where to find the customer that will most likely buy. And that's a really big one for startups. And sometimes, again, you're quite clear about who your customers are, because you have a kind of, you have a customer base already set out for you in some ways, but which part of your customer base are going to buy into your offering? And then 4, builds the foundation for sales through multiple channels. So an example from my own business here. So I came out of education. I was writing, Bowerbird actually started out as a business that was providing emotional kind of resilience workshops to teachers, because myself and a whole lot of my colleagues experienced burnout. And so I was pitching at schools, and I thought, there's compulsory professional development. I'll tap into the compulsory professional development, and I'll offer a 1-day resilience, self-care kind of workshop for teachers. And I was pitching at teachers, and teachers were really keen, but principals were not. They did not see the value in paying for their teacher to not only pay for the teacher to go to a workshop, but also they'd have to cover that teacher with a supply teacher. So Bowerbird started out one thing, and yet I started to do workshops more for aged care providers. I started to work more for community organisations who could see a benefit, because their staff were social workers, things like that. Their staff was starting to burn out. And then suddenly people noticed that my program writing was good. And then suddenly over time, Bowerbird turned into a production company writing education programs. So that's a long journey how it ended up there. But initially I was marketing to what I thought was going to be value and all of that. And my customers were not buying. Michael.
If you're not selling, don't worry about that. Again, I'm thinking bucket list, Skillshare or whatever. If there's no financial transaction, it's still a transaction. So just substitute the word transaction for sales. You're still actually exchanging value. I turn up, I give you goodwill, you give me a trip to the beach or whatever. It's still a transaction. When Godin says, know how to find customers who will most likely buy, well, this isn't Godin's text, but he emphasizes identifying the sneezers in your market, the people who sneeze. He was one of the sort of first people to use the term viral marketing. So it's like people catch a virus. So your sneezer, the person you want most to influence, is the person that's going to catch the virus of your idea, and then by virtue of her or his personality is going to, and connections and networks, is going to go out and sneeze that idea on other people without you having to lift a finger. That's pre-marketing. So who are the sneezers? Who are the influencers for you? Like, I was really happy when I heard that Tammy was putting a hand up for this course, because I know she's, A, I know she's really busy, but B, I know she has a lot of influence in our workplace. She's a sneezer for me, for my business, for this course, right? Like, if I can convince Tammy that this is worthwhile, I know it's going to go everywhere. That people will hear about that, because if Tammy thinks it's okay, it's worth looking at, right? It's not about selling. If I was selling Lamingtons, it might be somebody else. The value of this that I'm trying to trade in inside Comlink, I know who the sneezers are. And those are the people that I try to influence with my marketing, with my message.
Which comes back to that story again. So, you know, you need to be able to tell a story that Tammy feels comfortable sharing with all of her colleagues or people beyond that. So, okay. Your brand is not your logo. So this kind of goes back to what we were saying at the start of the evening. So, you know, your brand is the whole story. It's everything that goes with it. It's the emotion. Emotion sells, we know that. You might remember a couple of weeks ago, there was the Mesopotamian coffee man alternative, and he put, you know, that it's an aphrodisiac in there. So, you know, he was telling a story. He was adding something in there. That was his purple cow. You need, what needs is your business filling, and what story is your business telling? They're the two things that are your brand. So again, when we thought about Apple computers, when Michael spoke about Apple computers and Dell computers in those first week, Apple is about professional and sleek and those kinds of things. Dell is a family computer that works solidly, and both have price points that reflect that stuff. So starting to kind of, yes, we will talk about logos in a minute, but your brand is everything. And it starts with that why, how, what, that very first circle we did. So all of these things, you can see how they feed into each other. And a lot of the wording will come out of, I found when I've been using this with the Edgeware tools, some of the wording for your marketing, you've already written it as you filled in the tools. It's already there. Okay, talking about brands, you can see some really well-known brands there on the screen. I'll just move that so you can have a look. So if you have a look at the brands, what I'd like you to do, just again, to make sure you're still with us and engaged, I'd like you to choose 3 of those brands. Just choose 3 of them. And I'd like you to write down 3 words you associate with those brands. So you're choosing 3 brands and you're writing 3 words you associate with those brands. I'll give you a moment to do that. just another minute or so. Okay, we're going to share some of those. So who would like to share? Someone we haven't heard from much tonight.
I chose MTV.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think of MTV, I always think of music, dance videos, and dancing around the lounge room with my sisters.
Cool. So you've got a personal connection with it.
Yeah.
How about any of the other logos there, Steph?
Harley Davidson.
Mm-hmm. What do you associate? 3 words for Harley Davidson.
Leather, like the leather jackets,
Mm-hmm.
the motorbikes, and bikies.
Yeah. Yep. So you've actually got an image of the ideal customer.
Yeah.
Yep. What's that customer look like? What's a bikie?
Rough looking.
Looking? Let's hope no one rides a motorbike, a Harley Davidson here. Okay, cool. Do you want to throw to someone?
Paul?
I had Coca-Cola, and I thought sparkling, universal, in that it's known universal right across the world, and it's an institution. It's been here forever, for a long time, I should say. Mercedes-Benz, I had quality, expensive, and German. And music, I had music TV. I had videos, music, and variety of genres. Variety.
Okay. Cool. Excellent. Thank you. I want to throw to one more person. Oh.
Sorry.
No, you're
Tammy.
Poor Tammy. She's had a busy night.
Sorry, Tammy.
And I'm trying to feed my face as well.
It actually looks quite impressive. Whatever you guys have.
My husband my husband just brought us out some pizza.
Good man.
Cute. I chose Lego, and I put that it was colourful, playful, and creative, and hours of fun.
Cool. Do you want to do a couple more? Just quickly off the...
Yeah, so for Nike, I wrote "Just Do It." I think everybody knows their logo or their slogan. I thought of netball and sporty or athletic wear.
Excellent. All right. Well, I think we get the idea. It's really interesting, those words that we associate with the branding are actually, that's the story. That's the story we've been told, that Mercedes-Benz is expensive and quality and German, you know, and if it was Korean, would it be the same as German? You know, would that tell the same story for us, you know, culturally? So sometimes we might have an image of the person who drives a Mercedes-Benz, or, you know, Steph gave us an image of someone who drives a Harley-Davidson. So successful branding has built those stories for us. You know, that we are sporty, or we're quality, or and with the quality costs more money. You know, that kind of thing. What's the difference between Mercedes-Benz and Toyota? Well, I'm going to spend a lot more money, and I assume I'm going to get European styling and that kind of thing. So you need to create that kind of culture around the offering that you have. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to think about your idea, and I'd like you to write 3 words you'd like associated with your brand. I really wish I could have a piece of pizza as well. Only thing about remote. Okay, so Jay, what are 3 words that are going to go with your business? I can't hear you, Jay.
So, well, because like the name that I was working on, I'm not sure, but I was thinking like swap com skills. So that was sort of the name. But then I was thinking connecting community learning.
Perfect. Excellent. Good. Do you want to throw to someone? Not Tammy.
Mel. Hello, Mel.
Hi, I have care, beneficial and well-being.
Could you say them again, Mel?
Care, beneficial and well-being.
Nice. Nice. Okay, Mel, do you want to throw to someone?
Chris?
Hi. For my business, compassionate, quality and community.
Nice. So you can see how those words, if it's compassionate, quality and community, you're probably not going to have a black, jagged kind of branding. You're not going to have like a loud slogan of, you know, just do it, or you know, that kind of thing. You're going to start to have the story that goes with that, that talks about compassion and, you know, community and connections and all of those things. And that you can start to see how your branding starts to come about and your marketing starts to come about. Any questions on that? Happy to move forward. Okay. Next one, another little activity to keep you awake and engaged. If you draw 9 dots on your page, what we'd like you to do is we'd like you to join those 9 dots using only 4 or less straight lines without lifting your pencil from the paper and without retracing the lines. Little brain teaser for Thursday night. We won't harp on this too long. I'll give you maybe a minute to see if you can solve the problem. Okay. So anyone get it? Anyone do the join the 9 dots with 4 lines? Jay, was that a nod of the head? Yep, Mel? Tammy? Nice. Excellent. Zorro. Anyone else? Well, Tammy and Mel have nailed it because, yes, there is a proper answer. So here's one of the proper ones. Okay, so you kind of go up and down, across, and then back up. That's one of the official ones. But the reason we do this is because there are many ways that you can do this if you think outside the box, which is why we actually put this up here. You can do the Zorro. Well done, ladies. or position the dots so you can make it like that, so you can use a thicker line. You can just use a massive line. Just do 4 big strokes with a really thick pen. You can fold the paper and then do like a fold up and down the paper so that it works. You can imagine that it's in a cylinder or a sphere and wrap the lines around. You can fold the paper and stick your pencil through it and get all the dots that way. Or you can do this one, which is actually more than 4 lines. So at no point did it say you will be penalized or there'll be a problem if you do 5 lines. So the point is to think about, when you're doing your branding, think outside the box. How can you be a purple cow? How can you break the rules? You might argue you might need to know the rules, how to break them, but how do you get yourself seen by the sneezer? All of those things. And that there's no one right way. Often people get really caught up, like even with the name, you think, I've got to get the name right, I've got to get the name right. Maybe you don't even have a name. You have something quite random. I mean, it is good to have a tag and a name and all that, but you know, it's just those kinds of things that can stump us. Think outside the box, have some fun with it. So that moves us on to the next thing, love marks. Has anyone heard about love marks in your travels? So love marks is one way to kind of group how we see brands, I suppose, in a way. So along one axis is love, so that emotional stuff, and then you've got respect, which is the head, the kind of the combination of head and heart with stuff. So you kind of understand it. It has logic versus the emotion with it. And you can break these into 4 quadrants. So if you have high love but low respect for something, it's a fad. So it might be a product that's a bit of a fad. You might have, I'm just thinking of something that's quite fatty at the moment. I mean, a word that's coming to mind is something like one of the haircuts or something, you know, like when a kind of style that might come in like balayage. So you might get a product that helps you do something like balayage hair or something like that, that you don't have a lot of respect for it, you don't think about it, but you really love it. And so for some reason, or I wonder if Fitbit sits a bit in there, you know, at the moment, like all our fitness things, you don't really emotionally, or you don't really respect it. It just does its thing. It's not really that great a product, but you have high love for it because you have an emotional connection for what it gives back to you. On the other side, you've got products. So you've got your low love, low respect. Is anyone particularly attached to their toothpaste? You know, we go for the same brand. Maybe you are. Maybe you go to Colgate because you've always been a Colgate person and your mum was a Colgate person and your grandma was a Colgate person. Maybe you are, but and these are very personal, how you feel towards brands, but often they're products. Michael and I, when we were having a bit of a chat about this, we talked about toilet paper being there. But interestingly, toilet paper, thanks to companies like Who Gives a Crap and those kinds of things, have suddenly become something to think about. You know, I think does anyone know about Who Gives a Crap toilet paper? It's a kind of ethical. Again, the story it tells is that for every toilet paper sold, it gives back to a community. It helps with sanitation in impoverished communities. So you know, even that, you can actually have a brand that you get attached to, and people do. I know a lot of my friends, they've actually made it so that the toilet paper is wrapped in colourful paper that you can use for wrapping paper. So you can reuse it. And I've got friends who proudly give you Who Gives a Crap presents, you know, wrapped in Who Gives a Crap, because they bought into the brand. On the other side, okay, high respect, you've got brands that are low love but high respect. So they might be, just trying to think of a brand that you might have.
Japanese cars. Toyota,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
you don't fall in love with a Toyota, but you know that the bloody thing's going to start when you turn the key.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, some people might fall in love with Toyotas, but the Mercedes would be more like your high love, high respect brand.
Yeah.
On that left-hand side of the stick, low love, you're really talking about price. You know, your brand needs to be up in the top right-hand corner. People need to love you. That is, they have an emotional reaction to what you're trying to do. You make them feel warm and fuzzy, and they need to respect you because you deliver.
Yeah. Cool. So, and then, yeah, love marks. High love, high respect. So love marks, Michael and I were talking about how Apple computers used to be love marks, but even that, companies changed. Since Steve Jobs left for heaven, since he passed away, Apple started to lose a bit of its shine a little bit. Some of its products weren't as good, and people are starting to get annoyed with the updates and things like that. So maybe they've lost. I mean, I know a lot of my producer friends have moved back to different brands now away from Apple after being Apple people, you know, that kind of thing. So think about, you know, we want love marks. We want people to actually attach to your programs that you're offering through Comlink, and you want Comlink itself to be a love brand. You know, you want people to proudly, your sneezers, to proudly go out and say, I signed up with Comlink because they do X, Y, Z, and this program that I've signed up for is, you know, because I love it. I love what they're doing. I love what they say. I love what they stand for, and I love the way it makes me feel when I use those products. That's what branding's all about, sitting you up in that corner. Any questions on that? Can everyone think of an example of some of these things? Anyone, maybe if we just share our love marks, things that we love?
Single malt whiskey.
Is there a particular brand that goes with that, Michael?
Islay single malt whiskies. There's about 4 brands that from the island of Islay.
Nice.
That I love and respect. Actually, when Amanda and I were talking about this, I was saying people quite often talk about Bond's undies. They're cotton, they're sort of relatively well priced, and they're Australian, but Amanda pointed out that they're not Australian anymore. So they've slipped, in my respect, from Lovemark down.
And that comes down to the value proposition again. Like, is buying Australian important for you? Is quality important for you? For me, for example, a love mark for me is I support a couple of Brisbane designers. So I try and buy my clothes ethically. Clothes are one place where I can my buying power. And I support young, well, they're not young now, but Brisbane designers. So I buy clothes from Dogstar, Mayuki, and Sasha Drake. 3 designers that I know it's made in Brisbane by Brisbane people. The designers of Brisbane keeps the money coming into Brisbane economy. I can only afford to buy 1 piece of clothing a year, but I will pay that money for those pieces. And I'm a sneezer because I used to always talk up Dogstar, and Michael bought his wife for her birthday this year a Dogstar outfit. So, and the clothes are funky, and they also make clothes for bigger women. So it's that, for me, Dogstar is a love mark. Paul, can you think of a love mark for you?
I'm grappling at the moment trying to think of something. I'm sorry.
Not a great consumer?
I shouldn't say, but at my age, you know.
What, 21? No, leave it with you, Steph.
Yeah, thanks.
What's a love mark for you, Steph? When you see their stuff, you think, ooh.
Animals.
Animals?
Animals. Yeah.
So RSPCA, Steph, would be a brand that you would relate to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's actually a brand that goes with animals. Mel?
Oh. I'd say it's sort of a bit tongue-in-cheek though, is Coca-Cola, because anyone that knows me knows that I'm never without a can of Coke in my hand, literally. And but you know, I don't respect it because it's not a good thing. I do love it, so it's not the ideal example.
So what would happen, Mel, if I offered you one of those, you know, generic buy low
Oh,
colas?
dearie me, Amanda, no.
See? So it is the brand, isn't it? It's the actual
Yeah.
brand. Or if I offered you a Pepsi. So, you know, when you've got to go to KFC and they only have Pepsi.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, a good example, but it'd be a no from me, Amanda.
Awesome. Tammy, something you love? This is also a way for us to bond as a gas group type, you know. People let you in on who they are a little bit.
Yeah, I'm struggling a little bit actually. I think I was thinking about my mind always straight away goes to food. And once upon a time, it used to be Cadbury chocolate, but they've reduced the size of the packaging for the same price. So I've lost respect for them now. But then I went to Mercy Valley Cheese, and I've never had a bad cheese from them. I could eat that stuff every day.
Yeah, perfect. That is okay. So this is, you can see how branding. All of us have mentioned maybe a brand that we were into, but it slipped a little bit. You know, packaging is, and that actually talks to your values, Tammy. I want value for money. I want my size portions to stay value for, you know, and if you're going to make a change, well, you better make it one for the better, not for the worse. They're all things that we need to think of when we're talking to our customers, and you need to think of yourself as a customer. I mean, you know, we could drill down into Mel. What's the difference between your Pepsi and your cola, your Coke? You know, what's the difference between Coles, cola, and Coke? See how Mel's reaction was quite strong? That's what we want from our customers. We want them to buy the story.
And sometimes that's quite unreasonable. Like I've seen the tests, if you show people just bottles of cola, one's Pepsi, one's Coke, people can't taste the difference typically over time. You might think you can, but most people can't. There's something that's triggered by the logo and the colour and your experience of Pepsi when you started, Coke when you started drinking it when you were 4 or whatever. There's usually unconscious stuff. McDonald's trades on this too. They know that as we get older, we know that the food, we have a higher and higher awareness that the food is not nutritious, but they spend a lot of money on kids' parties and playgrounds and getting the family experience happening when the kids are small, because they know that the taste prejudices that we set up as children, we take into adulthood. So even though we know McDonald's, we might not have a lot of respect for it as we get older, we maintain our love for it. And McDonald's will turn into binge food when we've broken up with our girlfriend, or binge food when we're feeling a bit lonely in a foreign town. So good marketers will manipulate this. I mean, those are both negative examples, but there's also positive examples, which is what you're after.
Mm-hmm. Chris, what do you love?
If anyone knows me, I love champagne. And I do like a good quality. The cheaper qualities are no good for me. So headaches. So yeah. Also, when I buy butter, I only ever buy Western Star.
And why is that?
I think it's still Australian, but I don't know, the quality of the butter compared to the home brand, which I have bought many a times, but the quality is definitely in the Western Star.
Yeah, and the packaging reflects that. So it's
Yes,
in gold packaging,
yeah,
reds and golds, it's in foil. It tells a different story to the customer.
yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Quality.
I have to say, as a group, you're fantastic. I like the cheeses, the champagne, the Jay, what do you love? Whiskey?
Well, the first thing I sort of thought is that I love Triple J, and I love all the the Double J, and they're all on TV now. So I love that. So I listen to, I don't watch a lot of TV, but I have the radio on all the time, music going in the background. And then if it's a drink, I like Gentleman's Jack because it's smooth. And then one of my favourite food products that hasn't got a lot of sugar is Carmen's. So
Yes.
I eat a lot of their cereals and biscuits, and like if I'm going to eat a muesli bar, I would eat a Carmen's muesli bar.
Yep.
So
yeah. And again, if you drill down, all of you are saying this, you can see how the value proposition comes in. Healthy, I want to be healthier, there's not a lot of sugar, or it's the taste, or it's the accessibility, or it's the, all of those things are the kind of value proposition. So you can see how the value proposition informs how a client feels or a customer feels successful, informs your branding, and how it goes around cyclically. So yeah, excellent, thank you. And I feel we got to know each other a little bit more. So creating love marks is about the ability to understand consumers' dreams, to know what they want and when they want it, and to create experiences that make your brand a part of their lives. Consumers who make decisions based purely on facts are a tiny minority of the world's population. But even these people buy some products or services based on impulse or emotion. So just to keep that in mind when you're thinking about selling, because, you know, even something like I was thinking, Tammy, about your idea, if I'm really unwell and I'm coming to the end of my life, energy is actually one of the exchanges that you're asking for. Like I might say I want to go to the beach, but to muster the energy that day to get there, I'm buying in. I'm buying into what you're selling me. So I was thinking about that in terms of maybe not financial, but, you know, is it worth me getting up and pushing myself out there to do that and that kind of thing. Michael.
I really want to stress the value of feelings in all of this. We like to think when we're talking about business that it's all about, not only about money, but it's about hard transactions. Now, one of the reasons that we ask you how you're feeling when you're imagining the where and etc. How does it feel subjectively is to reinforce this. Our customers, the value that we generate, will very often have emotional, even if we don't think it is, if we think it's purely rational, it will have emotional qualities. This is what they say, and why it's important in this process, for example, in training, that you feel it's really important to feel good, not just to think that you're achieving something, but to feel that you're achieving something. And there's any amount of science on this. The better we feel about what we're learning, the better we feel about what we're consuming, the more likely it is that we'll engage with that product, with that offer. Amanda, while I have the floor, I'm just looking at the time.
Yeah.
And I'd like to finish on time, so I'm going to suggest that we actually put the marketing tools that we talked about into the next one.
Yep.
And just check out. I think that's a good sort of natural pause, rather than try to push things into 5 minutes.
I was glad you said that, Michael, because I was actually going to say my sense was that it's nice we've all connected and just finished on this note as well. I thought that too, Michael, so I concur.
So folks, I'll send you the URL for this recording and the slides. Oh, I might fuss with the slides a bit so that you're not jumping ahead into the marketing plan. There's two tools that you'll be quite at home with because they work the same way as the ones you've learned, but they're about boiling down all of these qualities, the love and respect qualities, into some really key words that you've already started working on. Amanda asked you to come up with 3 key words. Those words are really important. They should be really simple English, and they should be kind of evocative. Like you might remember I quoted Steve Jobs saying, Apple wants to put a dent in the universe. You know, that was the whole kind of purpose of that company early on. So there's a variety of things. I was just talking at work today about a similar process. You know, it's like we generated all these pages and pages of information, and it's boiled down now to about 6 lines. You kind of got to go through the swamp to get to the little gems, but it's really important because you can have the best idea in the world and the best value proposition in the world, but if nobody hears about it, that's all it will stay, just an idea. People have to know about it, hear about it, understand it, and ideally fall in love with it. That's it, Amanda. Feel free to wrap up.
Okay, no worries. So yeah, maybe over this next fortnight, start to really pay attention to, you know, while you're working through, and I know some of you are still catching up with the other tools, start to think about this kind of stuff, about how the proposition value or proposition feeds into the branding. And I think the names will start to come from that as well, and those kinds of things, that kind of cyclical thing. All right, who'd like to wrap up with the, who'd like to check out first? Michael, you want to check out? You started, you can check out first. And
Okay, it was good. It's those of you who know me enough know that I can talk under wet cement, so it's really hard for me to just sort of stay shut up. And I'm proud of myself that I'd managed mostly to do that. I really like the way these things are shaping up. I like the fact that Amanda's coming on board. I'm feeling pretty good. And I haven't had a drink this evening yet, so that's what I'm looking forward to. It's been a long day. Paul.
I'm going to start by my love marks, because of my head was brain dead before, couldn't think. So thanks to all the, I suppose, the thoughts from others that made me generate these thoughts. I like blue Castello. That's my favourite cheese because of the creaminess, the smoothness and the quality. I like James Squire 50 Lashes beer. Similar probably proposition, and I like the ABC and SBS are my two my favourite television stations, and most programs that I watch on those or listen to. I'm quite impressed with. So look, where I am, I'm feeling okay about this. As I said earlier on, I'm just wanting to take that next step alongside the corporation, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Corporation, to make some, you know, this is not about just me. This is about making sure that there's an authentic journey that I go along with those particular key people. I do like the tools, and I'm looking forward to the next fortnight to see where it evolves. I'll pass it over to Christine.
Okay.
Yeah, I've enjoyed again this evening. What I normally do is take it all away with me, get to the weekend, spend a couple of hours of watching it over again on a Sunday, and then putting pen to paper. And yeah, no, it's been good. Thank you. Jade.
It's been good. I'm not worried about the financial part. I think I'm gonna struggle with the branding, because I'm so not a branding person. So
you help me, I'll help you, Jay.
So yeah, but yeah, I'm a bit like Chris. I like to think about it on Sunday. I'll think about it all during the week, but action Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll go Steph.
I think my issue is I overthink everything way too much, and I think that's why I get so stuck. But this session was pretty good. I got a lot of information out of it, and I just need to spend more time doing it instead of my other studies as well. Tammy.
It was really good. I particularly liked the love marks diagram. It made me really think about my own connection to brands. But the one thing that I'll probably take the most away from tonight is, I can't remember who said it, whether it was Amanda or Michael, but about identifying the sneezers and just thinking about my idea. What sort of companies might I look to, create sponsorships with that would then become my sneezers? I thought that was really good.
No. Yeah, I'm all good. It's getting exciting. It feels like, you know, it's getting closer to being able to put everything together and put it all down and you know, that sort of stuff. So, but no, I'm cruising along, all good. I'm happy, and yeah. Who's left?
Me.
Amanda.
Yeah, and I'll close off. So thank you for a nice night. Thank you for, this is my first time doing Edgeware remotely via like video webinar type thing. So it's a very different than being in a room with people. But yeah, so, and always lovely to work with Michael and it's, yeah. So thank you for being patient with me with the technology and things like that. And good luck for the next fortnight. I look forward to seeing you all in a fortnight. Thank you.
Hey, Amanda, while you're still here, before we all knock off, can we talk in the morning? Are you free tomorrow morning?
I am. Could it be quite early if that's okay, Michael?
Yeah, like 8:30, something like that.
Yes.
Let's
yes,
check.
we can
Let's
do
check.
8:30.
We don't have to use up.
8:30 is fine. 8:30 is fine. I love the definition of early.
Yeah.
Yeah, 8:30 is good. Michael, let's talk then.
All right, I'll text you then.
Okay, thank you.
See you,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Yay.